Hey guys, welcome back to High Yield Intraday Trading. I hope every one of you is doing good. So before we start discussing today's topic, let me request you all to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button here. Once you click on it, you will get the confirmation on the left bottom corner. Post you subscribe to my channel, also make sure to press the bell icon and click on all. You will get the confirmation on the left bottom corner so that whenever I upload a video, you get the notification about the same without any misses. Also, I would request you all to subscribe to my Telegram channel with the name HYIT Intraday Calls because I share a lot of things over there and it might be helpful to you in some way or the other. All right, so I'm sure you all would have heard a lot about gaps. It might be related to gap trading or it might be related to gap strategies and all those stuffs, okay? Now, in this video, we will talk about some practical aspects of gaps. Again, these are my perspectives and might differ from what you think or from what you have observed in your life trades or in your trading experience, okay? And one more point is we are not going to talk about the various kind of gaps here, okay, like the exhaustion gaps or the runaway gaps or the continuation gaps. Okay, these are the various kind of gaps that we have. Okay, I have already made a video on that particular topic, so if you are interested, then you can surely search around my videos on YouTube and go through that particular video that explains about the various type of gaps. Okay, so back to the topic here. In this video we will discuss about some practical aspects when it comes to the gap theory. Okay, things like what are gaps, what causes them to occur, is gap filling important, can gaps work as supports and resistances, which time frame should we be following, how to use gaps to trade the intraday market. All these things will be discussed in this video. Okay, so let's take it up one after the other. And also please be noted that I will not be able to cover all these aspects in details. Okay, all these topics cannot be covered in details because the scope of the YouTube videos are very less. Okay, so we will restrict ourselves accordingly. Okay, so first thing first, what are gaps? Well, in layman's term, a gap is a condition on the charts wherein nothing is being traded. Okay, no buying is happening, no selling is happening. Okay, so let's say a stock's closing price for today is 500 rupees and tomorrow the stock opened at 520 rupees. In this case there is a gap of 20 rupees, right, wherein no trades were being done. So this gap of 20 rupees is called a gap, and to be precise, in trading terms we call it as a gap up opening because yesterday's closing price is less than today's opening price. Okay, and the exact opposite thing stands good for a gap down opening. Okay, now the next question comes up as to why and how these gaps are really created. Okay, well, there are a number of reasons why the gaps are being created. Some of them are like some good news or some bad news about a particular company. Okay, another reason can be the result outcome for a particular company, and so on and so forth. Okay, and gaps can also be created because of the pre-market activities, right? The pre-market that happens from 9 a.m. to 9:08 a.m. Okay, because of that pre-market activity, those pre-market activities, the I mean, there are a lot of things that happen in the pre-market session, okay, before we actually see the market opening up at 9:15 a.m. Okay, and those things also have a huge impact in deciding whether a stock will open gap up or whether it will open gap down. Okay, so these are some of the causes that contribute to the creation of the gaps. Okay, I hope you're clear. Now, coming to one of the most discussed topic when it comes to the gap theory, is gap filling important? Now guys, in my perspective, the straight answer is gap filling is important and the gaps do get filled, but not always. Okay, I mean, it absolutely depends on what type of a gap are we considering. I mean, if we are talking about an exhaustion gaps, okay, then they are more likely to be filled up. Okay, similarly, if we are talking about the breakaway gaps, then they are more likely not to be filled up. Okay, so basically it depends on the type of gap we are talking about that is being formed and how the market treats that particular gap. Okay, so the suggestion from my end is do not always expect the gap to be filled in, especially when you are into day trading. Okay, what I mean is, let me explain this with an example strategy. Okay, uh, the thing which I'm going to tell is actually taken up as a strategy. Okay, so let's say that a stock opened gap down. Now, what the retail trader do is they will take a buy position. They will initiate a long position in that particular stock. And the sole reason for them to initiate a long position would be the gap down opening of the stock. Now, why do they do that is the question. They do it because they blindly believe that the gap will get closed, the gap will get filled. Okay, and in order for the gap to get filled or closed, the stock price has to move up, right? Because the stock had opened gap down. So in order for the gap to get filled in, the stock prices has to go up. Simple, right? So the moment the stock's price moves up in order to close the gap, they will book their profits. That is the mentality that the retail traders normally have. Okay, now, is this practical? The answer is no, a straight no. Never ever think of trading like this if you are into day trading, or else you will be in huge trouble. As simple as that. Okay, and people actually follow this thing as a strategy and place it within the price action category. Now, come on, you cannot do that. Okay, anyways, we are not doing so. Let's not discuss any further about this. The only thing which you need to know here is that the thing which I just discussed, the strategy that I just discussed, you should not be following that strategy. Okay, so moving on to the next topic. Another very important discussion about the gap theory is, can the gaps or do the gaps work as support and resistance? The simple answer is yes. Yes, the gaps can very well work as supports and resistances. Okay, now, if the stock is moving up and the gap has been created below the candlesticks, and later when the stock prices start sliding down, that very gap can work as a support and force the stock prices to move up again. Similarly, if the stock is moving down and the gap has been created above the candlesticks, and later when the stock prices starts moving up, then that very gap can work as a resistance and force the stock prices to fall again. Okay, a very exact example can be pulled out from the Nifty's recent movements. Okay, let me do this. Let me take you to the charts. I have already drawn the gaps and the other steps that are needed. Right, so this is the Nifty spots 1 day chart. Okay, as you can see here, Nifty 1 day chart. Okay, the blue zones or the blue areas that you see here are the gaps. Okay, this is a gap down opening, this is a gap down opening, this is a gap down opening. All three are gap down openings. Okay, now, uh, okay, rather than considering them as gap down openings, consider them just as gaps. Okay, so all the three zones that you see here colored in blue are the three gaps that we see on the charts. Okay, now, if you remember, I had already mentioned it here on after the market was over on 20th, sorry, 5th June. I had mentioned it on my Telegram public channel that this particular gap will be working as a very strong resistance. And in order for Nifty to go up any further, it has to fill this gap. Okay, now see what's happening with Nifty. Okay, the very next day, it opened above the gap, okay, but it closed below the gap. So, was the gap filled? The answer is yes. But the next question is, where was it closed? Okay, on 8th of June, where did Nifty close? Was it above the gap or was it below the gap? And the answer is Nifty closed below the gap. So, which means that it did not close above the gap, which means that Nifty is yet to close the gap. I hope that is clear. Okay. And since then, it is falling. Okay, last trading session, that is last Friday, it gave a huge retracement move. Okay, the whole day it was on the bullish side, but that does not mean that Nifty has started a bullish move. In order for Nifty to move up, again, the statement remains the same from my end. This particular gap has to be filled. And when do we know that this particular gap is being filled? We will know that when Nifty's price closes above this gap, above this blue zone that you see. Okay, so as of now, if you ask me what about Nifty, well, we cannot really say what's going to happen here. It might fall here. This would be the next support. It might fall, it might go sideways, or it may try hitting the resistance again. Anything can happen. Okay, now since we are purely into intraday trading, we should not be bothered about what's going to happening on a 1 day time frame. Okay, what we should be bothered is what would be happening in a lower time frame, which is a different topic. We will talk about it later. Okay, so as of now, I believe you are clear on what I just explained about this gap as far as Nifty is concerned. Okay, let me minimize this. Sure. Okay, so that was about the explanation on the Nifty charts. Okay, so yes, gaps do work as very strong supports and very strong resistances as well. Okay, a very strong resistance example, I just showed you the Nifty chart wherein the gap is working as a very strong resistance. Okay, now the next topic, in which time frame should we follow the gaps wherein they will be more effective? Okay, well, majorly we should analyze the gaps in 1 day time frame or anything above the 1 day time frame, like the weekly time frame or the monthly time frame. Okay, I mean, it all depends. It depends on what exactly are you looking for, using what other things you are analyzing the gaps. Okay, I mean, I'm talking about the technicals again. You should always use the technicals that are powerful enough along with the gaps to get a more stronger and clearer view of what's happening on the charts. Okay, so we really cannot define a specific time frame, but one thing is for sure, if you use multiple time frames, then your chart reading will be more accurate and effective. Okay, I hope you are getting the point. So that was all about the time frames. Okay, the most effective ones are the 1 day time frame and any time frame which are above 1 day time frame. Okay, if you talk about time frames which are less than 1 day, they are not that effective. Okay, so you have to mix match things here. We do not have a perfect answer to which time frame should we use when it comes to the gap theory. Okay, so that was about the time frames. Now, moving on to the last and the most important section, according to me, how to use gaps to trade in intraday. Okay, keep this very thing in mind, guys, that if you are into day trading, then you should not take the gap theory seriously. Yes, you heard it right. I do not want you to take the gap theory seriously if you are into intraday trading. Okay, that's because gaps are big things. I mean, something really big happened in regards to the stock because of which the gap was formed, right? Now, as a day trader, if you expect that gap to be filled within a day, within a mere 6 hours of trading, then it's not going to happen. I mean, it can happen, but it's not practical enough for a day trader to have that particular state of mind. Okay, so when you see the gaps, let them be there, but your focus should be solely on your technicals that you use for intraday trading. Okay, another aspect to this is when the stock price is nearing a particular gap. Okay, what I mean is, okay, let me explain this in another way. Now, let's say that a stock has opened gap up in a 1 day time frame. Okay, but as a day trader, you use the 15 minutes time frame to make all your decisions. Okay, now in this scenario, if you see that the stock is nearing the gap, okay, I mean the stock opened gap up and then it went up for a while and then it started falling and now it's approaching the gap up zone, then in this scenario you can consider the gap up zone to act as a strong support. Okay, and at the same time, if the technicals that you are using in the 15 minutes time frame, if they also give you a hint of going long at that exact gap up zone, then you can surely think of initiating a buy position there, and it will be a strong buy position for sure. Okay, because in this case you are having two very strong confirmations that tell you that the stock prices has more chances to go up. Okay, so here you are not just taking the decision to go long by only considering the 1 day time frame. Your 15 minutes time frame along with the technicals are also saying you to go long. So basically you are taking the support of multi time frame to reach that particular decision, wherein the gap zone is acting as a support in both 1 day and the 15 minutes time frame. Yeah, so this is how you can use the gaps when it comes to day trading. Okay, but in general, if you ask me, I really don't care about the gaps when I trade live. I mean, I don't really care about many other things as well when I trade live, because it's very important for me to focus my mind on the thing that really works for me, rather than spreading my focus on 100 things that are not getting without getting any results, right? In fact, I have prepared a small mm, picture. Let me bring it up just a moment. This picture explains the thing which I just told before some time. Okay, uh, how to use gaps when it comes to intraday trading. So consider the left picture to be a 1 day time frame, and consider the right hand side picture to be a 15 minutes time frame. Okay, so what I just said is, in 1 day time frame you saw that the stock opened gap up. Okay, so this was a gap up opening. Okay, so in 1 day time frame, one candle represents the complete day, right? So in 1 day time frame it opened gap up. Obviously, similarly in 15 minutes time frame also it will show a gap up opening here. Okay, so initially it went up. This is the 15 minutes time frame we are talking about. Okay, so initially it went up and then it retraced back. When it was retracing back, when it reached this particular gap up zone, okay, the zone that you see in pink line here, that is the gap up zone. Okay, so when you see in the 15 minutes that it is approaching the gap up zone and taking a support here, that is the time when you can decide to go long. Okay, because in both 1 day time frame and in also the 15 minutes time frame, this particular gap up zone is acting as a support, so more are the chances that the stock prices will be pushed in the upward direction from here. Okay, so I hope that is clear. I hope you got the point. How can you relate the gap up or gap down opening in a 1 day time frame and implement it to trade in a 15 minutes or a 5 minutes time frame? Okay, so that was the point that I wanted to make. Okay, so let me see if I'm missing anything else here. Just a moment. Yeah, I think we have covered it all. So that's it from my end, guys. I hope this was helpful. Again, please remember the fact that there are many things in the market that really work well, but that does not mean that you have to force those things to work well for you. Okay, like the gaps we talked about, they really work well in 1 day time frame, but that does not mean that you can force it to work well in a 5 minutes or a 15 minutes time frame. Yeah, so we need to know the exact usage of the things. Unless and until you know how to use a thing properly, no matter how beneficial it is to others, it will never prove beneficial to you. So choose, observe, and decide the things very, very carefully. Okay, so that's it from my end, guys. And as always, would request you all to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also, please do not miss the ending of the video, as you will get to know some more things about HYIT, which might be helpful to you in some way or the other. And please feel free to ask your questions and queries, if any, in the comment section, and I will surely answer back to them. And also, please do not forget to like this video if you liked it. So that's all from my end, and I will see you all later. Hope you all will stick back. Happy trading. Stay back home. Bye bye.